Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Sudeep here once again. So in today's video, we are going to understand what is Model Context Protocol or MCP. I've seen a lot of videos, read a lot of documents and all that, but it becomes very complex after certain point of time. So I thought I'll take this opportunity to make it simple for you to understand. And first, I will try to explain to you what is Model Context Protocol in simple language and in simple world context or real life context. And then we'll move into a small code based example where I will show how this actually works. Okay, so having said that, I'll jump straight into the video. But before I do, I would request you to please do like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that I get motivation to keep on bringing such videos for you guys in future. So with that out of the way, let's get started then.
It's all about AI.
So let's start by understanding what is MCP or Model Context Protocol. A model context protocol, just a little bit of background, was introduced by Anthropic, the people or the company who introduced Claude AI. Claude AI, as all of you might be already knowing, is a similar AI tool like or an LLM like ChatGPT. Okay, so the people behind that Claude AI or the company behind that Claude AI is a company called Anthropic, who have also introduced this model context protocol. So, what is this model context protocol? Model context protocol is nothing, it's an interface between tools and uh, AI systems. When I say AI systems, agentic AI systems, you might have already heard that we are going into a world where agents or AI agents, which you can imagine as small robots running on your server, which can do a lot of stuff. Like for example, if you want to book a plane ticket, you can tell your smart robot or small robot that is running on your server to go and book that ticket. What that robot will do, it will go to various tools. One of those tools can be a flight booking tool, from where it can book the ticket and come back to you saying that, hey, here is your ticket. So things like that can happen through agentic system, which are small robots running in your server and which can communicate with tools like the flight booking tool I just described. So what how this helps is that this makes these agents or small robots running in your system as autonomous, which means it can take its own decisions, do its own stuff without asking you too many questions, get the job done and return to you the results. Okay, so that is what this model context protocol helps the small robots running in your system to do. Okay, so let's see what that exactly means. So the small robots or the agents that you are running can talk to any app or model without custom coding. Number one, right? Discover and use new tools instantly. What do you mean by that? Like for example, you do not want to travel by air, you want to travel on rail. So this tool, this small robot running on your system can also talk to, say, the railway system to book your rail tickets maybe. Okay, next, it can act based on context. The small robots that you are running can act based on your context and not based on fixed rules. That means you have given it a context that you need to travel to maybe New Delhi tomorrow morning. So that is the context it has. Now it will go on and search for the best options. Maybe it will book a air ticket, maybe it can book a rail ticket, maybe it can even book a bus ticket, right? Volvo bus ticket even. So that's the context it has, and it does not follow a fixed rule. Based on the context you have given, it can act on it on its own. So that is the autonomosity of a agent, right? Then what happens then, like what else it can do, it can adapt easily to tool changes with almost no updates needed. What does that mean? Suppose the tools it is interacting with, like for example, it is interacting with an airline tool where there is some version upgrade that has happened to that tool, maybe new functionalities has been added to that tool. Now our agent or the small robots that we are running might not be aware of what changes has happened on the tool, right? So in most cases what happens in real world is that we will have to recode everything, reconfigure everything in order for our small robots to talk to that tool. But not in this case. With this MCP protocol coming in, we will not have to make any changes in the robots that or the small agents that we are running on our system. It will still be able to connect and get the ticket done through a protocol which is called the MCP protocol or the model context protocol. I hope you are clear up till now, and you are with me. In order to take this forward, let me try and illustrate this with a simple analogy. Let's say we have a small application called a calendar, which is a kind of a tool. What this tool does, this tool is very simple and it can actually tell you today's date. Now, in order to make this tool accessible to the other smart applications, which are our agentic apps or the small robots that we are running on our system, we have to build a special helper in front of the calendar app, which we called as the MCP server, through which our application or the robots that we are running in our system can communicate with the calendar app. Okay, so if it is getting little complicated, don't worry, I'll try to make it a little more simpler in the subsequent slides, like when you see the examples and the pictures and all that. Okay, so this MCP server's job is to make an interface which is very friendly, allowing our agents or the small robots that we are running on in our system, when it is talking to the trying or it is trying to talk to the calendar app. So that is how the MCP server or the MCP protocol helps. Okay, so if I show you the example picture, then I think it will be very easy for you. So this is how it looks like. So this is our agentic application client. Okay, or maybe you can say the small robots running on our system, right? So first step, it connects with the MCP server. Okay, and then what it does, it tells the MCP server, hey, I want to book a flight ticket. So what this MCP server does is that it requests the calendar tool, or maybe in this case, as it happens, it asks for the date, right? So the calendar tool executes some function and returns the date to this MCP server, and this MCP server sends the date to our agentic application. So on an overall, this is how the architecture will look like. Okay, so if I now go back to the earlier slide, how does this actually happen? How does this interaction happen? As a step one, our agent app or the small robots that we are running will contact the MCP server. This is like knocking on the door, right? Asking for, hey, are you there? The MCP server will respond back saying that, hey, I am here, let's handshake or welcome to my home or something like that. And we set up a connection with between the agent or and the MCP server, ensuring so that the both sides know and understand each other what they want to do, the MCP server and the agent or the small robots. Then our agent or the small robot asks the MCP server, hey, what can you do for me? I have connected with you, I have done a handshake, I have exchanged greetings with you. So tell me, what can you give me, or what tools do you have in your library which I can use to get some of my jobs done? Okay, so that is the third step. Then the fourth step comes in. The MCP server will reply saying that, hey, I have say 10 tools, and one of them is the calendar tool which gives today's date. Okay, the fifth step comes in, where our agent or the small robot that we are operating will ask the MCP server, give me today's date then from your calendar tool. So the MCP server then goes back to in step 6, the MCP server goes back to the calendar app, gets today's date from that calendar app, and returns it to the agent or the small robots that we are running. In step 6, the app agent or the agent app or the small robots that we are running receives the data and displays it completely seamlessly to the user. Okay, so the user might not be aware of what is going on in the background. It has just placed a request to its agent saying that what is the date today, and behind the scene all the six steps happened seamlessly to provide the user with the date within a few milliseconds, maybe. So this is the dynamic thing that happens behind the scene when we use MCP. Okay, we will see how this happens through code and one real life example. So the very good thing about MCP that happens is that I've shown this. Whenever there is a change in the calendar app, let's say, okay, let's say the calendar app earlier used to provide a date in this format, 2025. Today is like say 8th of August, or sorry, 22nd of August or something like that. And now suddenly the people who have uh, like written this calendar app, they want to upgrade this app where whenever a query comes in, it not only gives the date, it also tells the or responds back to the queries saying that this is today's date and today is Friday, or let's say Monday or a Wednesday. Okay, so how does this happen now? In a real world or in the earlier world, what would have happened is that since there is a change in the end system, right, we would have to change code in the query that our agent is putting to the server might also need to change in order to get the right details from the updated calendar app, and all these things needed to happen. But now with the MCP coming in, or the context protocol coming in, what will happen is that when the agent needs an action, it re-asks the MCP server about available tools, ensuring it always knows the latest functionality. So what happens here is that whenever there is a change in the calendar app, that change in the calendar app gets published only to the MCP server, from where our agents or small robots can discover what changes has been done in the calendar app, right? So next time whenever our agent asks the MCP server that, hey, I need to know what tools are available and what are its capabilities, the MCP server publishes a list of tools along with the capabilities of each of those tools, saying that along with the date, it can now say what day of the week it is. So from there, our agent can learn, okay, so earlier it used to give me only the date, now it can give me not only the date but also the day of the week. Okay, so that is how it understands without any change in the robot code or the agent code which is running in our system, which is what is said here, right? So this means the user gets a seamless reply, or the people who have written the agent or the small robots code, they do not have to change anything. Only change that happens is in the tool side. It may be the calendar, it may be the flight booking, it may be the railway ticket booking. Whatever changes happens, it just gets pushed onto the MCP server, and no changes are needed, or maybe at times if you go into the real world, very minimal changes are required in the client side. So that is the beauty of this MCP system, or the model context system, or the model context protocol system. In order to know this, this is how it works. If you can understand it pictorially, so the calendar tool comes up with a new feature. It publishes those details to the MCP server, right? So the next time a connection request occurs, and then a request execution occurs, the tool here, the calendar tool, gives it the output in the form of whatever the new features has been added, and it gets sent to the user. So you see, only changes are required at two places only, maybe here, and even if some changes are required here, then it will be very minimal. Okay, so this is how the MCP protocol works basically. I hope you have got a good understanding now as to how the MCP protocol works. Now let's move into the code and show you as to how this works by building a small client, a small server, and the calendar app. Okay, so here we are. Um, Let me explain this to you then. So this is the MCP demo folder. In the MCP demo, we have this calendar app. The calendar app contains a calendar uh, service.py file. Okay, what this program does is that it just returns today's date. You see, this is the definition of the program. It will return date and time in a specific format. Okay, so this is our app. Okay, now let's move on to the server. So this is the MCP server folder, and inside the folder we have this server.py file. Okay, so what this server.py file does is that it runs a server which is kind of here, and then it talks to the calendar tool, and then it runs the server on this local host. Okay, so this is very simple code. Either you can write it, or if you want, just let me know, I'll share this code with you guys, or you can ask any AI tool to write this simple code for you. Okay, so this is the server part of the code, and then we come to the client code, or the agent or small robot that may be running in your system. This is again a very simple code. What this does is that it connects with the server in the same local host or the URL that where it is running, and it is asking for what are the available tools, and based on that it will call the call tool calendar to get the server response and print it. Okay, so this is what is the client one. So just to repeat, there are three things. One is this calendar, which is an application which returns today's date and time, and then we have the server application which will talk to the calendar application and publish its capabilities, and when someone asks it to run some functions, it will run that function in the calendar app and return the details. Okay, and lastly we have the client, which are the agents or the small robots which will connect with the server and get the details from the calendar app. Okay, so now let's run it. We'll first run the server. Okay, I had previously run it, so that's why it is showing here. So, okay, so let me clear the screen. Okay, now let me run this so that you can see it in a better way. Okay, so this is how I'm running the server.py file. It will take a little bit of time to run, so let's wait to give it 1 or 2 minutes. See, okay. So now the server is running. So starting MCP server on this local host, and this is what it gets shows. I mean, these are default things that will come from the MCP server code because you have already update like included them in your file. But if you look at the server file, right, when you connect all this will come, right, calendar MCP server and all those things. So okay, now it is running here and it is ready to connect with any client or maybe agent or small robots. Okay, now we'll run the client, which is the small robots or the agents. Okay, so let's run that. Now we'll run this client.py. Okay, so when we run this client.py, again it will take a few seconds to run. Okay, so you see available tools is calendar, and the server response, you see today's date it will show, and there are other parameters which I have not defined here for the sake of simplicity, but if you want you can go into the details of these and define those parameters so that these will also show up. But the important thing to note here is that it is displaying today's date. Okay, so this is the first part where we connect, the client connects to the server and the server executes the code from the application and returns the date. Okay, now what happens, let's say some changes are done in the application, which is the calendar application. This is the current code that is getting executed, which is returning the date and time. So now I will just comment it out. I will just comment it out, and I will decomment this portion. What this does is that it will return not only today's date, but also it will also return what day of the week it is. Okay, this is the date and this is the day. Okay, I am changing nothing else. Okay, I'm not touching the server, not the client, nothing. Okay, only some changes in the application or the calendar application that is getting called. Okay, now let me rerun everything from scratch. Okay, so I will then close the server once again. Let me clear it. Okay, and now I will run the server once again. Okay, so again it will take a few seconds to run. Okay, now the server is again up and running. Okay, same as last time. And now I have to run the client. So let me go to the client. Okay, and I'll run the client once again. So let me run the client. Let me s- drag it here so that you can see it in a better way. Again, it will take a couple of seconds to run, so let's be patient. Okay, so you see, earlier it only showed the date, nothing else was there. You see, now you see there is the date, and then comes the day. Today is Saturday. Okay, so you have made only a small change in the calendar application, and nothing has, or you did not change any code in the client or the server, but you got a better response. So this is how MCP works. There's a server, there's a client, and there is an application, tool, database, whatever you may want to call it, or maybe use. You can do that. So this is how MCP will work. I hope this has been useful and you have been able to understand how MCP works now. Uh, do let me know if you have any questions or comments on this. Um, and also do let me know what other things you would like to learn so that I can try and make videos on them. But before you sign off and I sign off, I have one request for you. Please do like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel for more similar videos in future. Thank you for watching today. Have a great day ahead, and be curious and keep learning. Thank you.